This mid-morning, let's explore Beginner to Buddha, discovering the power of gentle progression in meditation. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. Welcome to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is brought to you by the good-hearted folks who help support this channel on Patreon. This mid-morning, we could chant and meditate and enjoy a lesson or two. But first, if you love Star Wars and you wish to meditate as transformatively as General Leia Organa on Ajahn Kloss under the guidance of Luke Skywalker, be sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell. Good news. If at any point during this mid-morning's live stream, you have a specific question about Buddhist meditation or Buddhist philosophy or how to apply them to your life, simply type your question in great detail in the chat window on the right-hand side of the screen. I guess I would be good if I put my phone in Do Not Disturb mode. There we go. I remember when I was a kid, they would have automobile commercials on television. And sometimes they would boast, 0 to 60 in 15 seconds. Well, this is my take on that. 0 to 60 in 12 weeks. Now, if you were in a car and it takes you 12 weeks to get to 60, Lucy, you've got some splaining to do. But what about meditation? Some people practice a lifetime of meditation, and all they experience is frustration, and it's nothing but, a pain in the tuchus, but not in the fun and tingly way. But what if meditation was not only fun and pleasurable and productive, but easy and effortless? And that brings to mind the incremental approach. And of course, the poster child for the incremental approach is any time you've taken a tour in a cavern, like the kind that are sponsored by a state park, and how they explain that over a vast ocean of time, a stream, a river, carved away the limestone enough to make huge chambers in an underground system that we call caves, and then another thing would happen. Water would drip down from the ceiling, creating stalactites on the ceiling and stalagmites on the bottom, once again, incrementally over a very long period of time. If we just jump into the deep end of meditation and try sitting for 60 minutes, about once every 12 hours, straight off the bat, it's going to be too difficult. 9 times out of 10 it'll be too difficult, and you'll create an aversion, and then you've got an additional obstacle in your life. But if you progress incrementally, it's a different story. So let's allow me to draw your attention to the scribbling on the page. If for the first week we meditate for 5 minutes, approximately once every 12 hours, that is doable. We're living in the age of smartphones. We can set a timer on our smartphone. You can come to a live stream. I broadcast them at least twice a day, sometimes 4 times a day, health permitting. You can set a timer, and when the timer goes off, you can just say goodbye and check out of the live stream. What will happen is the first 5 minutes is going to feel pretty intense. But after 2 or 3 or 4 days, it's going to feel much easier. After 5 or 6 days, you may be impatient for the next, what's it called, challenge. And here's where the magic comes in. Something I call divine impatience. When you are chomping at the bit for the next week to arrive so you can boost your meditation practice, there's something magical about that. And of course, magic with a C, not magic with a K. But it's something very, very powerful about sticking to a schedule, experiencing some very, very positive impatience. It can impel you, pull you forward along the path. And in less than, by the conclusion of once 3 months have elapsed, you could be moderately comfortable with the practice of sitting in meditation approximately once every 12 hours. Now, here's an additional benefit. By practicing incrementally, the people in our life do not become obstacles to us. Our dog or our partner or our children do not think, oh, he's going to leave us and join a monastery somewhere. He's going to be all weird and shave his head. When they get the idea that you're doing this in a sane amount of time, and that after 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 15 minutes of practice, you're a much more patient, mellow, resilient, and considerate person, they'll start actually encouraging you to meditate, which is delightfully mind-blowing. So here's the idea. Second week, you meditate for an additional 5 minutes, which brings you up to 10. Third week, an additional 5 minutes brings you up to 15. Fourth week, 20 minutes. Seventh week, 35 minutes. 10th week, 50 minutes. And you guessed it, by the 12th week, you're styling. You're at long last at the promised land of 60 minutes. Now, when you hit 60 minutes, do the heavens part? Do the angels come down and bring you Snickers bars? Full-size Snickers bars, not that crappy fun size. No, it doesn't. But life gets a little bit easier. Hey, trolls are still going to troll. Fools are still going to fool. Bullies are still going to bull. But you'll become more resilient. And there's an extra added bonus. When you meditate correctly in the manner that we'll describe in about 3 or 4 minutes, something happens. We begin to find the middle ground between the extreme of being contrived and controlling and the other extreme of being completely scattered like the Tasmanian devil in a Bugs Bunny cartoon. And that middle ground could be described as being as love's centered spontaneity. Not scattered spontaneity, but centered spontaneity. When we move from that place, this love's centered spontaneity functions like, when you're a kid and you sit on the sidewalk and your neighbor's washing their car and the water's going down the gutter, and you'll float a leaf on it and watch it go down the street. Well, the same thing happens. Love's centered spontaneity becomes the flow of water in the gutter that carries the leaves of choices and utterances and deeds. When our choices and utterances and deeds are empowered by the flow, by the stream of love's centered spontaneity, life seems to work a whole lot better. Before we review the meditation instructions, I'd like to take a moment to chat with you. This chant is nothing spooky. It's just an excerpt of a translation of an ancient Dzogchen text. arguably the most ancient of Dzogchen texts. Please, and so this is the Saturday morning excerpt of Prahe Vajra's, or Garb Dorje's, Spaciousness of Vajrasattva, or Dorje Sempa Namkache. Excuse me, I need to get up for a quick moment. I'll be right back. As promised, I'm back. Let's chant. This inside is easy, so easy, in fact, that it seems difficult. Though all-pervading, the continuum is invisible. It cannot be pointed out by saying this is it, not even by Vajrasattva himself. This amazing, wonderful display of energetic movement. Spacious by nature transcends action. From within all deep unknowingness beyond thought and thinking, these dynamic potentials suddenly arise. This is reference to the experience of sitting in meditation, and then bam, out of the blue, you're reliving a memory from elementary school or junior high. You get the idea. The energetic radiance of consciousness dwells in all and is the way for all. For those lost in the ignorance of competition and clinging, confused by the obscurations of hate and craving. It is backwards like a medicine in search of a doctor to prescribe what is needed. We come now to mindfulness and meditation, which together, as a set, are known by many names, such as Zen, Chan, Dhyana, Mahamudra, Mahasandhi, Ati Yoga, Dzogchen, and Trekcho. Despite the fanciness or exotic nature of these names, the technique is not challenging. What's the key to practicing mindfulness? To the silent and mental recitation of the demonstrative pronoun this during each inhalation. Doing so automatically accesses our sympathetic nervous system, which has not evolved for active concentration, but instead for mere perception. Vulnerable, passive, visceral, and random. We can notice sights, sounds, sensations, flavors, scents, and the like, including emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imaginings. This begs the question, what do we do with all this stuff that we notice? Well, we meditate. And how's that work? Simple. During each exhalation, we silently and mentally recite the word yes. For each exhalation we are so wired that each exhalation grants us effortless and automatic access to our parasympathetic nervous system, which is wired for both physical relaxation as well as mental release. So what this means is we get to enjoy a relaxing break from our exhausting habit of living in perpetual resistance. Hey, life's going to throw mud at us. It's going to throw the mud at us in the form of circumstantial stress, physical stress, interpersonal stress, mental stress, and we make that stress worse by giving our survival impulses free rein over our choices and utterances and deeds. Those impulses are great advisors, but terrible bosses. So by playing with this exercise, we get to notice and release whatever comes up. Whether it's external, internal, physical, mental, pleasurable, painful, interesting, boring, glorious, or grotesque. Having said that, I'm going to set my timer. Or perhaps more accurate to say reset my timer. Because I'm a little punchy right now. And let's start. A great quote from The Last Jedi is, "Trust only the Force," which reminds me of something, a quote attributed to Lama Drontonpa, Atisha's disciple many centuries ago. Trust only the Yadam. For you and I, what it simply means is, as you breathe in, notice. As you breathe out, relax as best you can. Allow this to generate the flow. Go with the flow. Let it take you where it will. If the flow is not loving, that is because you're not practicing mindfulness, you're practicing concentration. Replace concentration with mindfulness. The presence or absence of love is your litmus test. When love and empathy are present, go with the flow. I'm quite happy that you had this opportunity to listen to a lesson and participate in a group meditation practice. If you feel that I have earned it, you could type something in the chat window. You could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could share it with a friend. You could even help support this channel on Patreon. In approximately 3¼ hours, I would very much like to return to lead today's afternoon lesson and meditation. Until then, may you and yours be happy and healthy. And if you are as geeky as me,